It seems like the circus in Brooklyn will continue for the foreseeable future as head coach Steve Nash was terminated, and almost instantly, just like less than an hour later, it seemed like Ime Udoka has arisen as the clear front runner for the new head coaching job in Brooklyn. Obviously, there's a lot of issues going on in Brooklyn right now. We're going to talk about those issues just a little bit, but I do want to also address the idea of Ime Udoka getting another job in the NBA right now during a suspension, because there's a lot of controversy, there's a lot of weird takes. It's kind of confusing to people like me or people like other people like me out there who are relatively, casual fans. I'm not going to be somebody that is like super in-depth outside of for the Bucks, but I do like to watch every NBA team. And from our viewpoint, Ime Udoka was suspended for the entire NBA season, but unfortunately for them, the Celtics were the only ones who suspended him. So technically, the NBA did not suspend Udoka for an NBA season. It was just for the Celtics. The Celtics moved on. They signed or hired Joe Mazzulla to become their head coach because he was already an assistant coach of theirs. So there's a lot of stuff that you could say could go both ways. A lot of arguments that could be made for both sides. But technically speaking, the Nets have done nothing wrong. They are allowed to hire Ime Udoka. The Celtics have plainly made it known that they are willing to let Ime Udoka walk freely without anything, anything in return, anything like that. And honestly, it's going to be a very, very good signing, in my opinion, if you're a Nets fan or if you're a player on the Nets, because we know Steve Nash, a great point guard, but he didn't have much coaching experience outside of being hired as the head coach. I mean, there's other players that have become head coaches, but for the most part, to become a head coach, you have to have some type of coaching experience. And even in the past, when there have been player coaches, they've had at least a minimal amount of, general manager experience, organization experience, other than just playing as a player in the NBA. Because simply understanding the game doesn't make you a perfect coach. You have to actually understand how to coach, how to handle all these different personalities. And it was pretty obvious for the last few seasons that Steve Nash really didn't understand that. He was simply gifted a basically perfect breadbasket of a very good team with some good role players, some great stars, and he wasn't able to get them over the hump. You had James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, and the farthest they made it was the second round of the playoffs. Now that, obviously, injuries could have impacted that, stuff like that, but it was pretty clear that Steve Nash was a lackluster coach. His rotations left a lot to be desired. He hasn't really found that clear big man prospect for the Nets to go or have starting at their center or power forward position going forward. They still struggle in that side of the ball. So signing Ime Udoka is going to make it a very, very good signing for the Nets, currently sitting at 2-5. Ime Udoka is one of the best up-and-coming coaches in the NBA at just 45 years old. And honestly, I am scared to see what he can do to this Brooklyn Nets team, because he seems like a guy like Nick Nurse that could come in and instantly turn around a franchise. Obviously, the Raptors were good before Nick Nurse, but they always struggled to get over that hump with Nick Nurse. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard helped, but Nick Nurse has proven after Kawhi Leonard left that he is still a very good NBA coach. So I have a feeling Ime Udoka is going to do something similar with the Brooklyn Nets. Whether or not they win a championship is going to be figured out across the next few weeks of the season. We're still pretty early on, but I do think he can help them get over that hump of, losing in the first round, losing in the second round, and maybe make a deeper playoff run. Now, all of this is brought down to saying, sure, it might be a scummy move by the Brooklyn Nets to sign Ime Udoka. He's fresh off his suspension by the Celtics. There's a lot of stuff going on still with that situation. And maybe they shouldn't have signed him, because he really isn't going to be a guy that you'd want to put out there as your head coach right now, especially after the allegations were put against him earlier in the offseason, or later in the offseason, earlier in the regular season. But still, at the end of the day, it's a business. You've got to go for what's best for your organization, and the Nets did exactly that by bringing Ime Udoka in. It's going to be interesting to see how they can try and turn this season around. They still have a lot of issues. The circus probably will continue on with Ben Simmons. Who knows how long it's going to take him to ever get back to even a shell of his former self. we don't expect him to be that guy, that all-star that he was in Philadelphia anymore. I just expect him to be a good defender, a relatively solid offensive player. But as of right now, it looks like he's still stuck in his own mind. He is still back there, telling himself over and over again, he can't shoot, he can't do this, and it's hurting their offense. There's been multiple plays this season. We've seen it very heavily publicized that, Irving makes a beautiful pass, Kevin Durant makes a beautiful read, and they just want Ben Simmons to shoot it, but he's never looking for the shot. He's always looking for something else, another pass, a second pass, a third pass, something like that. And honestly, even his defense has not looked as good. We expected him to come in and help out this Nets team defensively improve, because they have been, the last few years, one of the worst defensive teams because they lack the rim protection. They lack the defensive leadership that Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant aren't going to be able to give you. And so far this year, they sit dead last pretty much in opponent points per game. That's not obviously the total, show or tell-all of how their defense is playing, but obviously it's a big factor in whether or not you're playing good defense, depending on how much points you give up, obviously. But unfortunately for them, they sit pretty much dead last right now, around 122 points per game so far, given up from the other team. And it's going to be interesting to see if Ime Udoka can help that defense. He helped the Celtics, an already decent defensive team, become the best defense last year, arguably. So maybe he's going to be able to do that with the Brooklyn Nets. I doubt it. They're probably going to need to make a move still for a big man, and probably a solidified big man at that. After losing Andre Drummond and other guys at the power forward center position this offseason. So it's going to be a tough, next couple weeks for the Nets, but this is a slightly better move as far as, they were looking at Quinn Snyder. I think Quinn Snyder is a good coach, but Ime Udoka has proven that he can be a great coach. We'll just have to see how he fits in with this Brooklyn Nets system, whether or not they're going to be able to kind of mold the team around what he built in Boston. How do you guys feel about this situation? It is a bit scummy, but at the same time, the Celtics gave them permission to do it from everything I've read. And it's going to be interesting to see Ime Udoka sweeping the Nets last year. Now he's on the Nets. He's going to be facing his former team a couple times this season. And I wonder how the players are going to feel about that. Hasn't been a lot of openness yet from the players in the, in social media and stuff. But I'm going to be interested to see how they react to this situation. If you love my content and you enjoy it, please hit the like button and subscribe. As always, turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload. It helps me out. It also helps you out very much. Thank you all for watching this one. And as always, comment down below your thoughts on this situation right now. And just your thoughts in general on the NBA so far. It's been a fun season. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this season so far. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.